Hello, my name is Ben,
I'm Eric.
and welcome to the Too Vague Podcast. One word, two hosts, stories, trivia, and video games. This week, Erik from Imaginary Games Studios joins me. How are you doing, Erik?
I think I'm coming down with a cold, but I think I was coming down with a cold the last time that we talked too.
That's what happens when you make germ factories.
You bring this upon yourself, I think.
There's one other benefit to having a pet that you don't get infected by, for the most part, as far as you know, right?
Yeah, the very few diseases get communicated along that track. That's true.
By way of feline. How are you doing as far as work or life or whatever?
Things are going pretty well. I think since the last time we've talked, I had another germ factory. He's 6 or 7 months old now, and he's learning to crawl, and it's always exciting to keep tabs on. As far as work goes, Imaginary Games there's a small group of us. We are expanding a little bit personnel wise, but it's still primarily Christian running the show. And we are kind of wrapping up development on Rogue Climber, which was our 4-month diversion project that lasted 2.5 years. So it would be nice to get that out on Steam in a nice polished state. But yeah, that's coming along, and he and I are finally in this blissful phase of game development where you get to start talking about what the next project is.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about the next project for a year now or longer, but you actually get to start saying, like, well, what is it going to look like, and what's the gameplay going to be like, and so we're in this really wonderful era of that project where everything is kind of on the table right now.
Actually, Christian called me and asked me some questions about one of the concepts that he had for the game. So he was taking my input on what I was interested in as far as his general thoughts. That was cool.
We're very big on soliciting opinions from the people that will eventually end up playing the games. We don't want to work on stuff that is interesting to us and nobody else. That being said, I've been pitching a lot of ideas that are interesting to me and nobody else. And I'm hoping.
As far as you know, I mean, it's like until you release them, you got to have some secrets of the game to discover, right?
Yes.
And he's just asking a few of the people that I'm guessing he values their opinion, so he just pitches the ideas past. So he probably pitched one or two by me that you suggested.
Was it the cosmic horror gardening game?
That already exists. There's this game, Fractured Blooms, that I saw, but it was more of a narrative-based game with horror elements.
This has been just the absolute curse of being a small team. Before Rogue Climber was a glimmer in either of our eyes, we were talking about a cosmic horror gardening game.
Yeah.
And we actually, I think I said this last time I was on the podcast with you, but we started building Rogue Climber as a movement controller for that game, the gardening game.
Oh, okay.
Christian, to test out the movement controller, he created an obstacle course that you had to navigate. We ended up playing it a lot. It was a lot of fun. So we're like, this might be a cool game.
Yeah.
But anyway, so while we've been working on Rogue Climber, we've put the cosmic horror gardening game on the back burner. The last 2 years, man, let me tell you, every game that's coming out is cosmic horror and gardening. I don't know what the universe has been feeding to our competitors, but
those types of things challenge you to come up with the new unique concepts. Because this one, Fractured Blooms, which was kind of like you were in a time loop, horrific things happen and you're kind of stuck in this house. One of the cool things about it was as you played through the loops, you could hear yourself, what you previously said. And it was a little distracting, but you could hear your vocals. It was just a little bit quieter. And then as you play subsequent loops, the vocals become quieter as you go through each loop. But I thought that was kind of an interesting idea.
I hate novelty in anything, but I love novelty when it's the seasoning on top of the rest of the meal. Stuff like that is so creative. And I'm always looking for ideas to steal and make our own. You might be seeing that in our gardening cosmic horror game.
The other thing too is like I have short-term memory issues sometimes when I'm playing games, right? Anyway, that was a dumb joke.
That was smooth, man.
Thank you. The thought I had was it was helping me realize what I had previously done. As I go through and I'm focused on all these different things, the replay, it kind of reminded me, those vocals kind of was like, okay, yeah, I did that. So I'm going to do something different this time, which I thought was kind of cool. So it was functional in addition to being atmospherically engaging.
I think as I get older, I'm 37 now. And, hey, shut up. As I get older, as I age.
I'm sorry, the 55-year-old laughs at the 37-year-old who says he's getting older. It's just it's a trope. It's a trope.
God, I tell you though, man, my knee has been killing me. So, there's something to this aging thing that you guys tried to warn us about.
When you go to bed and then you wake up the next morning with an athletic type injury, that's when you know. That's when you know you're getting old.
37 has been that year for me, where it's like I woke up in the middle of the night, maybe a month or two ago, and my shoulder hurt so much, like a muscular issue. And you don't do anything, right? Like you said, it just happens out of nowhere. And lately my knee has been clicking, and that clicking is starting to lead to some irritation.
It's attracting bats.
That could be construed as a superpower, I think, in some contexts.
You know what? That's true. That's true.
But as I get older, I find myself looking for certain types of experiences in gaming and reading and movies, everything. But what you just mentioned, kind of that short-term memory issue and having a game recircuit that for you in a meaningful way. It's not the most revelatory thing that's ever happened in the art form, but stuff like that I'm looking for more of that as I get older, as I play more and more games. And I remember picking up Horizon.
Yeah.
And I just hated it.
Huh.
The gameplay was satisfying and the writing was okay. I know it got a lot of praise for its story, and I'm actually a big fan of the narrative designer on that one. But the game just didn't cognitively engage me in ways that I hadn't already experienced 100 times. So, a small indie game that makes me even aware of the fragility of memory or connects me with some bigger questions, that's kind of the experience that I crave these days. I mean, I still play AAA games, but
in the what am I up to piece, you know what? I might as well just get right into it, right? I got a review code for an open world spacefaring game in the way of games like Wing Commander or X-Wing versus TIE Fighter or Privateer. More of those games where you're going around and doing, getting resources and then fighting pirates. Stellar Wanderer DX, developed by Dream Builder Studios, published by Leoful. It's an enhanced version of a Android and iOS game that they made that was published by Crescent Moon Games, Stellar Wanderer. I played it for a couple of hours, and it's just not fun in the same way Horizon Zero Dawn was a little bit not fun for you.
Mm-hmm.
But this is even more extreme because it's like, I don't want to spend minutes traveling to the next star. I understand that that's what happens in space. It's like you got to travel from point A to point B, but I'm mining this asteroid, which means I just shoot at it and collect the stuff. But this isn't Sinistar. This is not mining asteroids for little pieces of Sinistar that you've got to use as your Cinnabons or whatever. Cinnabombs, not Cinnabons. That didn't exist at the time.
Might be onto something, though. I think we're going down a really interesting creative path here.
As we do when we get together on the podcast, typically. It bills itself as a retro sort of experience, but it's not a retro experience that engages me, and it's quite boring. I mean, even compared to something like the EA Star Wars stuff. Is that Star Wars? It's not Battlegrounds, is it? But it's the like Star Wars ship combat game that came
from which era?
The most recent.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I don't think I can tell you what the subtitle of it is.
That's what it is. Star Wars Squadrons. I mean, it's never going to be any better than the Atari Star Wars game that was vector graphics in my book. It was an on-rail shooter that was so much fun. But the thing about arcade games was it had to keep your engagement. That was one of the beautiful parts about it. And then when you started lengthening the time of the experience, of course, it's going to introduce little pockets of why the hell am I doing this? Right?
At the end of the day, this interactive media that we all really are in love with, it's simply pushing buttons in a specific context that has given you a problem to solve. And then it is receiving feedback about how you push the buttons. I don't think that's ever going to change.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe with VR, maybe some generative AI integrations might pivot that a little bit. But this is why something like, have you ever played Caves of Cud on Steam?
No, I have not.
The game looks kind of like a disaster. It has a very dwarf fortress type of aesthetic to it, but it's so interesting. I haven't been able to play it much in the last year, but I was obsessed with it for quite a while. It looks like garbage, and I remember trying to explain it to my family. My dad was curious about what I was playing, and it looks straight out of like 1987. But it all comes down to what I just described. You're pushing buttons in a specific context to accomplish something, to receive feedback on it. If you can do that in a way that's meaningful to somebody, you can create these really memorable experiences without a lot of fidelity, without a lot of anything. Have you played Rhythm Doctor yet?
No, I have not played Rhythm Doctor.
I just picked it up recently on this Steam sale, and the entire game can be played with the A button on your controller. From soup to nuts, the entire thing. You don't have to push any other thing than the A button.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. So it really, seeing these really polished AAA experiences that have not done anything meaningful with the way that I'm pushing buttons and the problems that I'm solving and the feedback that I'm receiving, it's just not that compelling,
Yeah. You can marry concepts in a game successfully, but just because you've got 17 different systems or 17 different mechanics that synthesize together doesn't make it fun, and it doesn't make it interesting. It can, but sometimes the simplicity, the minimalism is refreshing because you're focusing on tuning that one thing to something that is engaging.
There's a GDC talk that I love. I think you can look it up on YouTube, but it's by a guy named Ralph Koster. He's a legendary game designer. He worked on some of the old Ultima games. He did this talk called Practical Creativity, in which he breaks down games in these very foundational mechanical terms. One example that he gives is every fighting game is simply an iteration on rock, paper, scissors. It's genius. If you're going to make a fighting game, you're going to have your players playing rock, paper, scissors, but it's about it's about how you twist that interaction in ways that give it depth and substance. But at the end of the day, that's what you're working with. You're making a fighting game, you're working with rock, paper, scissors.
But you don't play rock, paper, scissors anymore.
Well,
do you?
Not professionally anymore, no.
No, you're not. You're not on the rock, paper, scissors circuit.
Yeah, those days are behind me. I have a bad shoulder now.
You'd be surprised how many muscles in your body you activate when you play rock, paper, scissors. It's mind-blowing. But the performance-enhancing drugs part of it is just getting too out of hand. I mean, pun intended.
I was going to say, man, you were rolling. This is fantastic.
I don't even realize I'm doing it, which makes it more fun.
Yeah.
Back to Stellar Wanderer. I played it on the PS5. It is just, it will be for some people who want to experience that nostalgia, but it's boring to me. It's not fun. You can customize your ship, you can do all these things, but the tutorial itself is like, okay, how is this going to be fun? Because it seems like every other ship game that I have ever played, and is just, like I said, just not fun to me. But it might be for some people who like those kinds of somewhat immersive ship combat games. So anyway,
it looks very pretty, I will have to say.
Yeah, I mean, they did a decent job with the graphics, but if you're waiting 5 minutes to get from point A to point B, what's the point? It's keeping a button pushed and then waiting for the pirates to show up and then shooting those guys. And it's like, anyway, I'm complaining too much. So let's talk about another game that I've been playing, which I loved. Pragmata. They put out a demo recently, and by the time of this podcast, it will have been released. So I'm probably going to talk about it on a future episode, but it's a Capcom game that's been in development hell for a while, even though the story is kind of an AI takes over kind of thing. They did some interesting things with the mechanics, in my opinion, mixing a puzzle hacking mechanic with a third-person shooter. You've got to string those things together as you're playing it. And of course, it's like any other platformer where you're finding objects that will give you resources that you'll be able to level things up, and you can find guns that are one-time use. Essentially, you've got X number of times to use these guns, and then also other enhancements like the one where you can hack multiple robots at the same time or reduce their armor. It's you, who's like a space marine kind of guy, and what appears to be an 8-year-old girl who is an android riding on your back. She's got a little stand on your back, so she stands over your shoulder and does the hacking as you're shooting. Boy, I was intrigued by the concept, and I didn't have a chance to see it or play it at PAX. They were there. The lines were insane. But it kind of piqued my interest. So when the demo came out, which is the sketchbook demo, which only has like tops 10 to 20 minute playthrough, it whet my appetite for the upcoming game a lot. I was impressed by it. Similar to the game we're going to be talking about later, as far as a concept, like AI taking over the world or whatever, is this thing where they made the environment look like it was generated by AI. They put all sorts of mistakes and things that don't exactly make sense in the game to make it feel like an AI generated the environment, which that's really cool and not very tone deaf. You know what I mean?
Good way to cut production costs. You just generate everything with AI and say it was thematically appropriate.
Yeah, but that's not what they did here. It's a big evil corporation like Capcom. But I think they do have a lot of integrity with their games and encourage, they stick to the formula in some cases, like your Resident Evil Requiem, which everyone's loving, and I haven't had a chance to play it yet. But this is a new property, and it does look like it's got some interesting stuff that it can explore. And the demo itself is full of little things, like you start the demo and the little girl is drawing a thing in crayons on the floor as you're fighting a robot, not really doing any damage because it's got its armor, right? So then you're going, hey, hurry up. I don't know where she gets all the crayons or has a chance to. Maybe she's got crayons built into her fingers. I mean, who knows? She finishes up the drawing and then jumps on your back, and then you start doing the stuff. At the end, depending on the things that you did along the way, she'll show you a different drawing. If you beat the time, which is like you try and do it as fast as possible, that's 10 minutes, you get one drawing. There's a secret fight on the elevator that the first 3 enemies that appear, if you use different weapons to defeat each one of those enemies, then a new secret enemy appears that's much, much tougher sequence of enemies. They're like normal enemies, but they're tougher grids that you've got to navigate when you hack. Then at the end of that, it generates a different drawing, and there are 8 different drawings to unlock. So even the demo has a little bit of replayability, but it just got me excited for the game itself.
What are the benefits of unlocking the drawings?
You can unlock an extra suit, which is the scribble suit, which is essentially the same suit that you're wearing except with crayon drawings all over it.
Okay.
It's not anything super crazy. And then also, there's when you play through, you can unlock a new weapon to give you a little bit of a taste of the variety that they're going to have with the weapons. And then the big boss fight at the end is the end of the demo. But yeah, the drawings, unfortunately, don't really do much. And I thought that once I went through and did all those different drawings, unlocked those, I would get something special. But it was still really fun.
Do they nod at all towards the BioShock influence, or is that just a coincidence?
What do you mean, BioShock influence?
You got a big, bulky guy carrying around a little girl.
I didn't even think about that, honestly.
Oh.
The Big Daddy.
Yes.
which is creepy in itself. But yeah, it is kind of a bulky suit. In retrospect, it does feel like a Big Daddy as far as being, in general, very slow, methodical movement. Not necessarily RoboCop slow, but
that in and of itself is pretty unusual for Capcom to have slow, methodical movement in combat.
you can run, but it's not like super crazy pace. And also the environment itself is very compact. The level design, at least on the demo, running from one part to another doesn't do a ton other than get you there faster. There are levels on top of each other, and that kind of generates where you have to figure out where the stuff is, because it's almost like a big cube that's got a path through it. So I recommend Pragmata to check it out, at least the demo. So I'm definitely going to be playing it when it comes out, and I'll have more thoughts later. So as far as media consumption goes, I'm guessing you haven't been playing a ton of games, but a little birdie told me that you watched a movie that was accidentally purchased.
Accidentally purchased?
I accidentally purchased it for Andrew because where I got it from, I had his address. So the first one I was supposed to buy for you, I sent it to Andrew, and I was like, okay, I didn't accidentally purchase it for you. I accidentally purchased it for Andrew.
Did he watch it?
He did. We'll probably be talking about it on an upcoming show. I don't think, but many of the movies that I like, he has opinions on. And of course, there's that feud he has with Christopher Nolan, which we talked about on previous episodes.
That's right.
The movie is Brainstorm from 1980, I want to say 81, 82, maybe it's 84. But what did you think about Brainstorm?
Overall, I don't think it's going to make my Mount Rushmore, but it was a really interesting concept to explore. And I'm a sucker for really powerful concepts delivered very simply. I still remember back when I first read Samuel Beckett, Waiting for Godot. If you're unfamiliar, it's just two guys in a tree for 3 acts, and it's life-changing. Watching Brainstorm, nothing like Waiting for Godot, of course, completely different in its themes and tone, but it has such big ideas in it. I started watching it and going like, oh, this is kind of a fun, retro, futuristic 80s kind of nostalgia trip. And it ends up being a movie about death and consciousness and human experience, how to define it, what does it mean? It blew me away, but obviously and unfortunately, the movie's more famous for something other than the plot.
The death of Natalie Wood under mysterious circumstances on a boat. She died during the making of it. There was a whole thing with movie studios where they were going to cancel the project because they wanted the insurance money, but Lloyd's of London said, nope, you've got enough here to release a movie. You know, they were shopping around, and then Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer was like, well, no, we'll release the movie. The director was Douglas Trumbull. He had such a horrible experience with the way the producers were interacting and impacting it and changing it and stuff that he just didn't make movies from that point on. He stuck to movie technology and did some things for a couple of attractions that, you know, filmed some stuff for things like Disney and other companies, which is sad because it was an interesting concept, and he just was like, no directing for me anymore. I'm done.
Was he having a challenging time prior to Natalie Wood's death?
I mean, he probably was. Whenever you're making a movie like this and you've got someone like Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, they're going to change your vision. I mean, there was that, but I think the whole death and everything around it was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. He was probably experiencing some of those things where he wanted to take it one direction, but the company wanted it to go another direction. He did a lot of visual effects supervision on a couple of things. He directed some of the special effects in Blade Runner, and then apparently he swore off doing any special effects for anyone other than Ridley Scott at that point, but you wouldn't know that until later. He didn't complete Blade Runner because he was working on pre-production of Brainstorm, and it was going to showcase his show scan process, which used special cameras to capture it in 70 millimeter film at 60 frames per second to kind of contrast things in the movie. It was kind of an expensive process. That is also one of the things that the company had resistance. They didn't want to do that. That probably contributed to it as well. His experience with developing this technology that was supposed to be revolutionizing, and then the company didn't want to use it.
Kind of appropriate for the content of the movie as well.
Oh, yeah.
For the people who haven't treated themselves, I'm not going to spoil the ins and outs, but it's a movie about, they come up with the brain dance technology from Cyberpunk. It allows humans to experience things that we may or may not be consciously ready to experience. It just opens up so many questions about like theology and just existence in and of itself. I am curious though, Ben, you highly, highly recommended this movie, and it was worth watching it. It definitely lived up to the hype. But what does it mean to you?
This is going to sound so pedestrian and bland and whatever. My mother went somewhere on a trip because this is the 80s and you did that. And while she's away, I went to the library and rented the laserdisc player that they had. And they had a selection of probably about 100 different movies. So one of the movies I was interested in seeing was Brainstorm. In addition to The Towering Inferno, which wasn't nearly as enjoyable. When I saw it, it was just so amazing to me. Just the whole visuals and just the idea of the technology that they were developing, where you could record something on a tape and play it back and feel other people's feelings or other people's experiences, things of that nature. And then it also had all these different cautionary tales, which later I translated to VR in my head. It's like, this is warning us about some of the dangers of virtual reality immersion. There's that guy who plays the loop over and over and over again. There are ethical and moral sort of choices that are made in the movie that are very unique and interesting. It wasn't anything about the death at the end. I just thought that was another sort of wrinkle to the story. Was he gets to this point, something happens, and then he gets to experience something that no one else has ever experienced before. Just end to end, it was just the right alchemy. I loved all the things as far as the special effects, as far as the story. So that's kind of where it connected with me. Renting it from the library. I know, it sounds kind of stupid, but I've got memories of that and enjoying it so much and sharing it with people, and that's where it connected. It does have its problems. I am well aware of that, but something about the time and how it connected with me at that time, I still rewatch it, and it's still great. It's not like Clash of the Titans where I rewatch it and I go, ugh, weird. And oddly appropriate for today's day and age, I think, too.
Everyone uses the cliche about how prescient something was, how well it aged for the modern era. It's kind of crazy, though, how fitting that is for Brainstorm, especially as we're getting into this AI revolution and questions about what is consciousness, what does it mean to be conscious, and it tackled a lot of. I think my interest in Brainstorm is it tackled a lot of these big questions, and I say this with absolute respect and adoration. It tackled them in such a mundane way. It's so interesting to me that the movie is framed as like a corporate thriller with employees and executives playing against each other, and
then you've got the government involvement too.
Yes,
you've got that as well. This is just a think tank, and they're coming up with these ideas, but they're being funded by the government, which becomes, after specific events, very evident, even though it's mentioned leading up to that, used for things that it wasn't really designed to be used for.
So where does the movie rank on your all-time top list?
Oh, it's probably way too high. That's all I'm going to say. Way too high. There are movies that I will always watch, and I know they're not the best movies, but they have some sort of connection emotionally that bring me back to a certain point in my life. Just make me happy.
That's right. My dark secret is Saving Silverman.
Okay. There's another movie I really like called CQ, which connected to me. It's Roman Coppola's movie that he made on his own. He usually pairs with, what's his name? Wes Anderson. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
But this was like his first sort of attempt on his own. And the movie connected with me because it's like this, it's about this guy who's a film editor. He wants to make movies, but the movies he makes, he has this idea of being artistic with them. He's filming his movie while this thing is happening, and it's just very mundane and boring. And that's kind of what he wants to focus on as far as his expression. Something happens where the director of the movie that he's doing film editing for gets removed from the movie, and he's got to make the movie based on what they've filmed. Through the whole experience, he meets characters in the movie that impact him. He meets the people who are not only part of the movie and part of the intrigue about why it's happening, but it's like, it's sort of an investigation of creativity, which is why it's too high on the list of movies if you're looking at it in one sense. But as far as my personal favorite movies, it's definitely at the top of the list.
The very top or the among the top?
Among the top. I'm not gonna choose my favorite children on this episode or whatever, but it's just, yeah, it's in the group of movies that just bring me lots of joy for whatever reason. So yeah, but I would highly recommend CQ as well. That's an interesting exploration of what creativity is, what it isn't, and how you can use creativity in situations that you never thought you would be using.
I will have to check that one out too. I mean, I'm open. If you want to mail me more movies, that's fine.
Feel free to give me stuff. Totally.
It reminds me of the real life story of Orson Welles doing Citizen Kane.
Uh-huh.
I hate Citizen Kane. I just can't. It's like the Ulysses thing in literature where everyone tells you how transformative it was, and I believe them, but my brain doesn't connect with it.
Spoiler alert, it's a sled.
Damn it. I haven't been able to get through it yet. You've ruined it. But the lore behind Citizen Kane is fascinating.
Yeah.
There's a clip of Orson Welles. Someone asked him, where do you get off taking such risky, creative chances like you took on Citizen Kane? And he goes, it's just everything about that movie is a matter of ignorance. I didn't know what was impossible to do because it was the first movie I ever made. And I had to learn how to make a movie in one afternoon. And I did, and that's what came out. There's something so intimidating, but also empowering at the same time about that.
It's the nature of creativity, I think. Here's my vision. Here's what it is. I just had to figure it out as life. It's not necessarily everything was pre-calculated, and this is the way it was. It was kind of a growing sort of thing that I had to figure out how to release it, and by circumstance, it's perceived as brilliant, but that brilliance may have been intentional or unintentional.
I would assume that he would tell you it was unintentional, which is extremely frustrating as a creative professional.
That's a story for another time, I think. Before we get too far in, let's get into our word. The word this week is the word arc, for reasons that will become painfully obvious later on. The word arc, it's a noun and a verb. Let us start with the noun. The definition's from Oxford Languages. Arc, a part of the circumference of a circle or other curve. A curved shape or something shaped like a curve. Duh. A curving trajectory is also an arc, which you can apply to many things. In mathematics, indicating the inverse of a trigonometrical function. You know what? Let's just throw that one out. Why throw math into it? Why do it?
I asked that question every day in high school.
Definition number 2 is a luminous electrical discharge between two electrodes or other points. Number 3, the development or resolution of the narrative or principal theme in a novel, play, or a movie. Then let's go on to the verb, move with a curving trajectory, a verbification of that noun, I guess. And then also another one, form an electric arc. So those are the verbs. If we get into the Google Ngram viewer, my favorite thing that is probably torturing everyone in the written word, in print, it starts very high usage and then it gradually decreases. So in 1800s, and then it goes down to the 1850s, it rises a little bit, maintains its usage, and now it seems to be at a low on a little bit of an upswing. So it's at its lowest point over its usage in the last 220 some odd years. Why do you think we're using less arcs?
I don't know, but we're buying low. That's for sure. The stock has never been worth less. So
Yeah, buy low, sell high. I don't know if I want to invest in the word arc though.
is there like an ARC on the stock market that we can look into?
Well, they say ARC here. There is a definition for ARC as an initialism, or I guess it would be an acronym. American Red Cross. That's what
Oh my God.
it's the American Red Cross. That's what it is. It's an AIDS-related complex. That's what they say. But let's see what the symbol is on the stock market, because that's a good idea.
How is that a traded entity?
I don't think that is an actual traded thing.
Oh.
Let me look up ARC stock. ARC Resource Limited. Key details for ARC Resource Limited. Oh, it looks like it's got Canadian dollars here. So ARC Resources Limited is a Canadian energy company engaged in oil and natural gas production. As of March, the stock is trading at $30 Canadian with a market cap of approximately $16.9 billion. Analysts generally consider it a moderate buy with a 1-year target. That's all gobbledygook as far as I'm concerned, but a Canadian energy company, I don't know if that's a good buy.
Well, the experts, they say it is.
Well, they say it's a moderate. Canadian energy. What does that mean?
I don't know. Can they sell it to other countries? Does it still remain Canadian?
You're thinking about this in too much of a common way. I think it's energy that's based off of the byproducts of poutine consumption.
And beaver oils.
Yeah, and then maple trees and stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's what it is. The country that runs, not to use all these stereotypes. Hockey is probably a big producer of Canadian energy. What were you saying before I so rudely interrupted you with my thoughts on what Canadian energy is?
Well, I was. Have we done the etymology yet or no?
I was just so excited to get into the Google Ngram viewer. Thank you for bringing me back to reality. It's late Middle English, depending on the path of a celestial object, especially the sun, from horizon to horizon, by way of Old French, from Latin, arcus for bow or curve. So there we go.
Arcus.
That is the etymology.
This is my third time on the podcast. I can't remember, but I've never done this before. But what about the homophone? ARK.
As in Raiders. We would have to have a special episode on ARK, ARK, but it doesn't mention that in the definition. It has no connection there as far as it's concerned. Let me look up ARK, ARK. This is the first 2-word episode, which introduces a whole bunch of other avenues, but I'm just going to stick to the origin here. Old English. What is that little thing that's kind of like a combo of A and E together?
I have no idea what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
Old English from Latin, arca, which is chest. Although it does say in the definition short for Ark of the Covenant, and a lot of Bible-related things with ARK. Archaic, a chest or a box. Archaic, a large flat-bottomed boat. A widely distributed bivalve mollusk that typically attaches itself to rocks with byssus threads. So yeah, it doesn't seem to have any connection to a curve for that homophone. Interesting.
That doesn't surprise me with such a distinct spelling, the K versus the C. It's also a dinosaur survival game from like 2017.
This is true. Do you play Ark Survival Evolved?
I have never even looked at the trailer.
Yeah, neither have I, but I know that a lot of people are kind of into it. Mostly dinosaur people. I've been watching a couple of those watch along videos where a group of 4 guys watches or rewatches Jurassic Park. Through the entire thing, they're pointing out the dinosaurs or the new dinosaurs that they introduce in this movie, like the technical names. And they also say, oh, that one's in Ark Survival Evolved. They do like the fact that they implement various realistic style dinosaurs.
So these are like professionals doing this, or is it just enthusiasts, hobbyists?
I don't think they're professional in any kind of field. They're just hobbyists. They do their podcast about watching movies, so I'm not 100% sure what they do as big boy jobs. They may actually do this as their job. I mean, it's a lucrative enterprise to make watch along videos, which is a statement I don't think I ever thought I would say.
How do we get in on this?
I would probably just do it as a challenge, but I can't see myself getting enthusiastic beyond the point where I would want to make money at it. You know, sharing the movies that I enjoy would be about that and less about the viewership.
What would be your dinosaur equivalent? They're pointing out all these unique features of these dinosaurs because their knowledge goes so deep. What would yours be?
I don't quite understand the premise, and that's probably because I don't have enough coffee in my head.
That's okay.
Like, if I wanted to be a dinosaur, I mean, if I were to describe me personally when it came to things that I express myself, I don't know, maybe an ankylosaurus. I've got a shell. I'm not a vegetarian either, but I can hit you.
Divorce yourself from the dinosaurs for a moment.
Okay. Our union has been annulled.
You have a live stream in which you watch movies and people watch you watch movies. Hypothetically, what commentary are you offering about these movies? So you went pretty deep into the director of Brainstorm. Would you be able to offer that level of insight into a multitude of movies?
I could. I would want to. I would want to do research. I think a lot of people, when they want those types of things, they're more interested in the reaction piece, right? They're interested in the guy opening his mouth going, oh my God, that didn't just happen, or someone being shocked by whatever. To me, it would be a different thing. It would be a watch-along video with commentary about the technical or the behind the scenes. It would be similar to watching director's commentary. So I don't know if that's something that people want. Quite frankly, I don't really care if that's something people want, which is probably why I wouldn't want to do it. It's a good idea, and maybe at some point in the future I would be interested in doing it, but it would be more for sharing and less for money.
I'm just saying, you've given me a very long list of 80s movies that I've never heard of.
Point taken. Maybe when I retire, I'll use it as a little bit of additional income stream. Be the old man that plays video games. In social media, there is an old lady that plays Arc Raiders. She's got little bits where she goes, why are you shooting me, Sonny, or whatever. But that's more about the spectacle and more about trying to create viral moments as opposed to doing it for the sheer enjoyment of it. So I don't know.
We'll save that as our retirement plan.
By the time you reach retirement, I'll be dead probably.
Thanks for the boost of confidence there.
I do want to do it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want you to be disappointed when it doesn't come to fruition.
Thank you.
I can try and find someone to fill my shoes, which, boy, that's a sticky wicket right there. You know, maybe that's a good idea to have a kid to do that. Maybe I should do that.
I've been working on it, man. So what Ark-themed video games have you been playing?
Funny that you mentioned that. Before we go there, can I just tell you the one thing that I think about when I think of the word arc? We're not going to get into arc welding, but I just wanted to mention one quick thing before we go into Arc Raiders, which is the answer to your question. Have you been playing any arc-themed games?
No, not presently, but the thing that you said you think of something when you think of Ark, the thing that I think of is the Ark Witch from Path of Exile. It's a very interesting build because Ark is a low-level skill, but if you build the witch appropriately, Ark dominates maps. Like it scales way beyond its weight class.
What is the power?
It's like a short range electricity type of thing. It's called arc because it has that. It literally creates an electrical arc.
That is why it's an arc witch, is because she's an electric witch.
Yes.
Not to be confused with the sandwich.
It's electric witch sounds kind of awesome, actually.
Definitely sounds like a band name.
Yes.
But it was a choice between the electric witch and the sandwich. It loves me a sandwich, so I'm going to pick a sandwich.
Had one for dinner today. I'm right there with you.
The thing that I think of, surprising no one, it's an 80s movie. You thought of the arc and arc, but I thought of what's the difference between an arc and an arch. That little tidbit was in my head because of this movie, Coming to America. Did you ever see Coming to America? It's Eddie Murphy.
I have seen Coming to America.
The one bit that I really like was football related. This has nothing to do with arcs. Sir, did you happen to catch the professional football contest on television last night? No, I didn't. Oh, sir, the Giants of New York took on the Packers of Green Bay. And in the end, the Giants triumphed by kicking an oblong ball made of pigskin through a big H. It was a most ripping victory. Son, I'm only going to tell you this one time. Yes? If you want to keep working here, stay off the drugs. Yes. There's that bit. But the one that makes me think of Arc and Arch, Cleo McDowell, is the guy who owns McDowell's, which is obviously a McDonald's clone. He says, me and the McDonald's people got this little misunderstanding. See, they're McDonald's. I'm McDowell's. They got the golden arches. Mine is the golden arcs. They got the Big Mac. I got the Big Mick. We both got 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, and onions. But their buns have sesame seeds, and my buns have no seeds. That is what it made me think of was arc and arch, the difference between the two.
I am friends with a copyright attorney. I may have to pick her brain about that scene prior to our next podcast recording just to see what she thinks about it.
Yeah, as far as like how much, I mean, it's the color scheme's identical too. It just looks pretty much like a McDonald's clone.
I suspect it's not okay, but the copyright law I have discovered is very, very complicated.
Okay. Copyright is an interesting word, I think, to investigate in the future. Do you know the difference between an arc and an arch, colloquially anyway?
I don't think so.
Arch is a physical, typically curved structure, a structural thing that supports weight.
Yeah, like the St. Louis Arch.
Exactly. Anyway, I'm not going to say Arc de Trump. I just did. Gosh darn it. An arc is a geometric curve. It describes a path, whereas an arch is a physical structure. So that is basically the difference. But in my mind, they're in the same category. I don't know if that's what your copyright friend would use as a, it's like, no. Golden arch is a structure. Arc is a, no, they probably wouldn't. I don't know.
Completely distinct.
Their only commonality is curved. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So what games? Let's talk about Arc Raiders, shall we? Developed by Embark Studios, who had a previous extraction shooter game that was called The Finals, which is more of a traditional style of extraction shooter and competitive and things of that nature. Arc Raiders seems to be a little bit different in that sense. It's mostly PvE.
Yes.
Your excitement is palpable.
Let me just preface, I'm not an extraction shooter fan, so.
Yeah, neither am I, man. And that's kind of where I started. Where I ended was really enjoying it. My arc. Do I need to explain to people what an extraction shooter is? You get put into an environment where you're shooting other people and shooting things in the environment. There are loot items that you get, guns and ammo and things, but then also components that you can collect and bring back and build other things, grenades and health items and all sorts of things that you can bring back and make money and buy stuff and blah, blah, blah. Is that what you would consider an extraction shooter, or what are your thoughts? Are they more combative? Are they more player versus player? Is an extraction shooter even player versus environment?
It's kind of a blend of both of those things, probably as close to a 50-50 ratio as you get in gaming.
Yeah.
But at its core, an extraction shooter is a way to make me very depressed and unhappy.
That reminds me of that cartoon I sent you, which was the math problem. Billy has 7 Cure albums. He gets 2 more. What does Billy have now? Depression. Billy has depression.
I think you did submit to me.
That is the long and the short of it. Yep. I was texting you the entire time I was playing this game, and you mentioned to me that you saw that I kind of had a change of heart, or describe what you saw in my texts.
Well, the early texts were these really frustrated, venomous commentaries on the design of arc raiders and the type of people that play extraction shooters. And that worsened over a week or two. And then arc raiders was sworn off. I was told that you were done with it. It has run its course. You've got all you need. And then I got an angry text message from you about how much you hate arc raiders the following week. And I said, I thought you stopped playing. And you said, I've stopped engaging with certain loops of the game. The next week I got a message, still a little bitter, but talking about how the play style is interesting. And then the following week, it was kind of like an optimistic message saying, like, the design of this game actually supports what I'm doing. And then from that point on, it was like, hey, this game's pretty good.
Yes, I drank the Kool-Aid, essentially, is what happened. I don't think it's I drank the Kool-Aid. I think it's I experienced the 5 stages of grief, which is part of a framework developed by Elizabeth Kübler-Ross to understand the emotions that you feel following loss. It's not especially a linear process, but I think people automatically think that's a step-by-step. There are different models of general stages of grief, some that make 7 stages, adding testing and reconstruction, which I think overcomplicates it. I started with denial, which consisted of, these games are dumb. I'm just playing this for research, for the show. There's no possible way I could ever enjoy an extraction shooter with player versus player in it by default. And then you saw that I went to anger, right? People are stupid. People are horrible. This game is a prime example of everything that's wrong with social media, toxicity, the anonymity of it. So annoying. I'm just getting angry about situations where people killed me and I lost my guns and stuff. Those two are similar for you as far as playing extraction shooters. You played a little bit of it.
I did.
What were your preliminary thoughts? Was your experience that you got killed a lot, or you just didn't enjoy the loop?
The loop is not something that is inherently that interesting to me. I think when I was younger, like when I was like 15 or 16, it would have been right up my alley, that grinding anxiety all the time. But I did like it better than Tarkov, I'll say.
Another extraction shooter that people were raving about.
I was very intrigued by Tarkov, but I just couldn't play it. I was bad at it, and it was just very upsetting. And those emotions seem to carry forward through arc raiders. Full transparency for anyone listening, I think I played like 65 total minutes or something like that. It wasn't a lot.
I'm almost at 300 hours.
That is unreal. Oh my God.
Yeah, pretty weird. And as I said before, my denial was I'm just doing this for research, man. The closest thing that I had played with any great consistency was Warframe. And the thing I liked about Warframe was the customization of all the different stuff. But this, in comparison, is very simplistic. And you unlock plans to build other items, or there are drops of these items, or you can buy them once you sell your resources. But at its core, it's a very simple grind.
Mm-hmm.
You look for your stuff on the surface, you fight off robots and occasionally humans. You go back down and you sell your resources, you make your stuff. It's just like it's a gameplay loop that I didn't used to enjoy. And I'm talking about the explore, get the resources, come back part of it. I never liked any super aggression, player versus player stuff. I don't care. I'm just playing it for fun. Challenging people or picking people off or being a player killer, that's just not fun to me. So I don't engage in that part of it. Warframe didn't have that. You'd be paired up with a group of 3 other people, and there would be synergies with the different frames. But at a certain point, it got too complicated. There was just too much to do. So after 6 years of playing it and thousands of hours, I just stopped. This is great in its simplicity because it reminds me a little bit of Pacific Drive, which is a game where you go to this zone, you explore things, you avoid certain enemies that will attack your car, which you get connected to. And when they do that, it develops personality quirks, like a wheel will fly off when you do a certain thing, or the doors will open, or the windshield wipers will do something, or it'll stall, or whatever. This doesn't have that part of it, but it does have the collection thing, which I didn't think I would enjoy, but I've got enough challenges. It's like I go to the surface. I got to look for these parts. So I'm going to look for these parts and then get back and build whatever I need to or fulfill whatever mission. And it's got no story to speak of, really.
You left us at anger, so take us through bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
Bargaining. Maybe if I were to act in a certain way, I can make this fun by coming up with strategies like I'm going to prime a grenade in my hand when I go to the extraction point, and then what I'll do is when someone hits me, I'll drop it. Or maybe this will make it fun, is I'll come up with all these passive-aggressive ways of dealing with people. Like there's a scanner thing that makes whatever the enemy is target this guy. Maybe I'll put myself in dangerous situations where if anyone tries to hit me or tries to defeat me, they'll get defeated by the enemies around me. So that will make it fun. I think that's a lot of bargaining there. What do you think?
In a sadistic way, I think so.
I could meet some cool people online, maybe, which I eventually did, actually. Just silly chit-chat stuff like common conversation, talking with people, who say, don't shoot. And then you go, oh, hey, there's a so-and-so over there. And then you just get in a casual conversation. I met some guy who was like, I'm a plumber. I work on industrial plumbing stuff and I got to go to work and I'm just going to mine for resources up here and getting some stuff done before I got to hit my shift. And we started talking about what we did. And it was, just meeting cool people, which was not what I expected at all from that kind of game. When you meet the toxic people, I just ignore them or I just block them outright. So whenever anyone shoots me or anything, that's not how I want to play the game. So I just block them. But anyway, so getting back to depression was probably, you said, it's like you hate this game. And it's like, yeah, I'm just doing it for the show now. And it's just like, it's not fun. It makes me sad about people too. There's an anger component to that. But then it's also like, I look at this and I look at social media and I say, there's no empathy here. And when you do find it, it's minimal and it's insufficient. It's horrible. People are horrible, and I'm sad about that.
League of Legends did more to damage me as a humanist than anything else.
This is a double-edged sword, too, I think. It's the anonymity piece of it. Well, when people have a mask on, not to bring this into any kind of thing that's happening nowadays, when people are wearing a mask, they feel empowered to do whatever the heck they want. And that is essentially, with some exceptions, what social media allows you to do. You put on a mask, you do all these horrible things. You're not killing anyone, but you're putting people down. Whether or not you do it in real life is not the point. You're just, to put it in the parlance of my grandmother, you're being a jerk. That's the depression. Now, I don't know. It is what it is. The game itself, it's kind of acceptance. I enjoy the gameplay loops, so those are the ones that I engage in. It's no longer stressful for me. It's frustrating, but I am more well equipped to escape situations and interact in ways that give me some satisfaction when I get out of them. And these people who tried to take me out, I have had urges to turn on the mic when I extract and there's an unsuccessful attempt to say something about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what's the end game? It's like social media. What's the end game there? Me voicing my opinion just to be another person voicing their opinion in an area where no one cares. The people who care are people who care about me. And when you're anonymous like that, I mean, yeah, you might get someone who does care, but, I'm not going to respond that way. Just like if I'm wearing a heavy shield and some guy shoots me, I just look at them. That's what I do. I just turn towards them and look at them. And then they shoot me and then I lose my stuff. And it's like, okay, well, that just happens. That's fine. Just block that dude.
You've become very, very Buddhist about all of this.
Exactly. Isn't that weird? Yeah. Those earlier stages, I would say to myself in my position now, if I were complaining about that stuff, I would say, you know what, Ben? I suggest you pick up the pieces of your broken life and move on. That's what I would say to myself now.
God. The ultimate psychological healing through arc raiders.
It wasn't expected. Honestly, I don't see myself going any further. I do see like videos of like these people who are doing stuff. There's this guy who does this bit with the Hairpin Bandit where he takes like the weakest gun and he goes around and he tells people the tale of the Hairpin Bandit. And it's just basically him doing all sorts of stupid stuff like rolling off of buildings and falling. And he tries to smoke bomb and he disappears and he hides in a bush. And people are like, where is he? Where is he? And it doesn't feel like it's premeditated. I mean, he has a bit that he's going to do when he goes in. But other than that, it's like runs into people and will publish his little things. It's a phenomenon. And I think what Arc Raiders has going for it is back to what I said about its simplicity. It's very inviting as far as that's concerned. If people can weather the storm of people who are attacking them and employ a strategy, don't rely on just the algorithm in the background that is supposed to. This is Embark Studios says that there is an aggression-based matching system. And people are like going, well, I'm aggressive and I don't get matched. It's like, well, okay, so it's an algorithm, which means it's not necessarily A plus B equals C. It's not a 1-to-1 ratio. It is a complex thing. So something in the way that you're responding to the whole environment is putting you in those situations. You can't oversimplify it. You try and figure out the algorithm in a very simplistic way. And the way I figured it out early on was, and it's not necessarily going to eliminate them entirely, but if I don't want people in the environment, anyone who deals any damage to me, and I see it on the list of people I interacted with, I just block them. That's what I do. And then I also don't engage in that kind of stuff where it's like, I don't like this kind of action, so I'm not engaging in that. Even if someone shoots me, it's like, okay, fine. So I guess I lost this battle and I just move on.
I would wager that if those moments didn't exist in the game, you would not have made it to 300 hours.
Well, and then also just running into people who are kind of cool people. Hey, do you need one of these things? Do you need this plan? Do you need this plan?
You've got to have the good and the bad. I'm a unapologetic BF Skinner behavioralist.
Yeah.
If the rat hits the button and gets a pellet every time, it stops hitting the button.
Yeah, and you don't have the one without the other, right? That's the thing too. Without that environment of those people who do that, it makes the event of meeting cool people less impactful.
Exactly.
Because it's like everyone's nice. That would be just as boring if there's no if there's none of that kind of like little bit of danger there. Like, yeah, that could happen to you, and it does happen, and that's okay.
That's why I've been mailing the death threats to your address.
Death threats, huh? That's a little.
It's just keeping things in balance, man.
Yeah, that's true. Don't do that. By the way, audience members, please don't do that. I'll ignore them, but please don't do that. Which is probably why I didn't get them in the first place. There was another thing that I was doing where I was going up with nothing and just looking around for people to shoot me so I could block them. My thought was, I'll do that, and then I got a bigger pool of people to block, and then they can have fun in their rooms with other people who are much better than they are, killing them. I don't know which category you would put that in. Probably bargaining, right? Yeah, I was probably bargaining.
Did you see any anecdotal improvement as a result of that?
Oh, yeah. For a while there, it would be happening at least a couple times per gameplay session for me. And then now it's, it's like once every week. And if it does happen, I'm more well equipped to escape the situation now. So it's tolerable. It's just like another enemy that I would have to run away from. I mean, there's sometimes when you don't have the best weapon assigned to you right off the bat, or there's an enemy that you don't want, you just treat it like that. You just escape the situation and move on. I don't have to engage all the time. And in fact, if there are robots on the surface and I'm not equipped, by all means, I try to escape the situation.
So what life lesson can you attribute to this experience with Arc Raiders?
Be aware, but don't let that impact your enjoyment. You could go to someplace and you could experience some negative things. And if you look for those negative things, you're going to find them. But just be aware of your surroundings and enjoy yourself. That's my life lesson.
That's really uplifting. I was going to say, cut the assholes out of your life just unrepentantly.
There's another movie. There's this David Caruso movie. There was a guy who was this big gang guy who just took over the mob, and this David Caruso character who was under the thumb of the commissioner. He was like a car thief, so he could get a reduced sentence. He's got to infiltrate this gang, this mob thing, and he impresses this guy, Big Junior, which is played by Nicolas Cage, and he's like beefy. And one of the things that he says to David Caruso, you got to get yourself an acronym. Like me, BAD, balls, attitude, direction. David Caruso's character looks at him and goes, what about fab, fucked at birth? Nicolas Cage waits for a while. No, man, too negative.
I love that. Also, a beefy Nicolas Cage. I have to check this out.
Kiss of Death. Not a great movie. Does have its moments, but David Caruso being David Caruso, like he is in every CSI Miami episode, overly dramatic, and it's kind of a one-trick pony, but he does it well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that is my life lesson. So that's an excellent way to wrap up the show and close it out, I think. Unless you've got anything else to say about ARC or society in general.
Nothing positive.
Yeah, check back with me on the next episode, and we'll see if my attitude has changed, says Erik. Well, thank you, Erik, for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you, audience, for joining us on this week's episode. My name is Ben.
I'm Erik.
And we've been your hosts. Have a wonderful night. Bye.